What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Today we're back again with another motorbike. If you guys like this sort of content, please do hit that like button, and if you're not subscribed, please do consider subscribing. Today it's a bike that I've been meaning to ride and been wanting to ride for the longest time ever, especially to experience the brand itself. What is that bike? Well, right behind me, the Indian Scout. As always, let's jump on it, go for a ride, see what it's all about.
Bro. Be real, man. Come on.
So, Indian Scout, as always, let's start off by talking about specs. We got ourselves an 1133cc liquid-cooled V-twin, putting out about 100 horsepower and about 97 Newton meters of torque at around 5600 RPM, all coupled up to a 6-speed transmission. And it's crazy, absolutely crazy as to how it puts down its power. Just like that. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely rapid. The way it delivers that power is very smooth, very linear, but just the amount of power there is available, that, you know, that torque coming from that V-twin engine from a start. Here we go. See, that's just insane. You blink and you're already at the speed limit. And yeah, one thing to note, I've noticed that the clutch lever, and keep in mind that this is an Indian Scout with 48,000 kilometers on it, so it could be different to another one, but for me personally, this particular bike, the clutch lever feels very stiff. You know, when I first jumped on this bike, I was trying to shift sort of how I would shift with the MT-07. You're trying to do the two-finger clutch action, but with this one, what I've noticed, you've really got to pull it in with all 4 fingers. And you know, the gears, they don't necessarily feel clunky sometimes, just depending on how you shift. You know, when I initially jumped on this bike and I was shifting around, it did feel clunky, like you could hear the clunk when you shift into first gear, for example, which, by the way, I want to demonstrate just how easy it is to find neutral. Bang. So easy. I love this gearbox, especially for how easy it is to find neutral, and that is, for me, the mark of a good gearbox. But when you switch into first, you hear that sort of clunk, and it's not as clunky as perhaps with a with a Harley Davidson, but man, it's got some heft to it, especially with this clutch lever. But overall, it's actually relatively, you know, once you get used to it, it's relatively pleasant to ride, absolutely manageable. And that power is just absolutely incredible, just so rapid. It's such an intoxicating feeling, and it's insane just how crazy it is. And I'm about to show you guys this thing's bread and butter, and where that power really comes in handy, and where this bike really belongs. And that is here, a big old piece of tarmac that we like to call a highway. Already at 100. Oh, it just went above 100. Wow, it's rapid. Oh my gosh. And it's it absolutely surprised me when I first jumped on this bike, just how crazy rapid it is. I've ridden a 1000cc bike before, but I think it's just a difference to how a V-twin delivers its torque. And it's these sort of conditions, especially on a highway, where that torque is just absolutely abundant, absolutely just comes in handy. For example, I'm just going to change lane. I'm in 6th gear, and you guys just see how it just picks up just like that. And you know, it's just so surprising, and you guys could have seen just then, it's relatively nimble, you know, for what it is. Because keeping in mind, this thing's wet weight is about 250 kilos. I mean, it's by no means light, But to give you guys a comparison, I've ridden a Sportster 883 iron. If I remember correctly, I looked it up online as well just to double check. It's about 256 kilos wet weight, and that it's a smaller engine as well, but it's much more heavier. But somehow this thing being an 1133 cc engine, or I think it's a 69 cubic inch engine, you know, its weight is actually light, you know, if you really think about it. And the way it puts down the power, that power to weight ratio is just so rapid. 6th gear, it just picks up and goes. It's insane. It's crazy. Now, part of that weight is, of course, the fuel tank. The fuel capacity is about 12.5 liters. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a downfall of this bike, but it is certainly something to keep in mind, because I've had a look online, and most of the forums are saying that people are getting about 170 kilometers to about maybe maximum 200 kilometers, but apparently it varies between each specific bike. Now, despite all that weight, it's still relatively nimble, you know. That isn't to say this thing is going to be something you track, but it's incredibly nimble for these sort of everyday road conditions and riding position, which of course this is a cruiser, so you're very much laid back, arms extended, feet, you've got the front set controls essentially. Seat height is around 649 mils, and it's absolutely so easy to flat foot this thing regardless of your height. And that's something that's really good, especially if you're a shorter rider. I'm considerably short. Our average height is short, and you know, I'm absolutely so comfortable on this bike. And speaking of seat height, something to keep in mind is the ground clearance of this thing, which is about 146 mils. Now, I haven't really been, you know, I haven't gone as far to test that out to really see, you know, how much this bike will bottom out. Because again, this is a rental bike. I've rented this through Rent This Bike. I'll link them down below. And you know, obviously, I want to take care of it. I don't want to be crazy and abuse the heck out of it. So, something to keep in mind when if you do go and test ride one of these things and you're looking to buy one, just have a look at the ground clearance. See if that's something that would, you know, hinder you in your everyday riding conditions and your, you know, commute to work or wherever it is. It is something to definitely keep in mind, because you know, you don't want to be bottoming out, hitting the frame and the engine block every single time. And yeah, speaking of bottoming out, of course, let's talk about suspension. Front, you got yourself telescopic forks with about 120 mil of travel. Rear, you got dual shocks with about 76 mil of travel. And to be quite honest, it definitely feels overall comfortable because, you know, of the riding position and the seat itself, it feels relatively comfortable. But the suspension itself feels a little bit on the stiffer or firmer side. Even on something like this, where the condition of the road is fairly average, it feels a little bit firm, you know. But that isn't to say it's going to break your back. But any sort of these little bumps, I don't know if you can really see them on camera, but these little bumps that are induced by whatever, you know, little cracks on the road, or there's little joints on a bridge, you really feel it, you know, when you jolt up just ever so slightly. It's not, you know, it's not crazy firm or crazy stiff where you're going to fly off the bike if you go over a bump, but you do feel that stiffness. But it's saying that, I guess that really adds to the overall, you know, nimbleness of this bike. I'm just loving this. You're laid back, you're chilling, good times, you know. This is if I had the money to buy one, I would buy one. Let's just say that. Hey, oh, there's a Harley. There's a guy on a Harley. And of course, speaking of roads, let's talk about contact patch. Those two things on the front and the rear of your bike, that being your tires. You got yourself a 130 by 90 up front and 150 by 80 out back. Both 16-inch rims. And yeah, you know, they do a decent job. You know, I feel like they add to the overall agility and nimbleness of this bike, despite its weight. But also when you're cruising like this, it's incredibly stable. You're very much center line. It doesn't feel like it's, you know, jittery or anything like that. And again, it's to do with that weight being reeled down low. You have that low center of gravity, so it really helps with cornering You're able to lean into a curve, exit it with confidence, not feel like the bike is going to snap out from under you or feel like you're just going to flop over and fall off the bike. This is incredibly stable, and I'm having a great time riding this, and I can imagine myself riding this long term. Again, if I could afford it, I would purchase one, no joke. Now, of course, putting down all that power and, you know, really having a hoot is only as good as being able to come to a stop safely. So let's go ahead and talk about brakes. Up front, you got yourself a 298mm single disc with a 2-piston caliper. Out back, again, another 298mm disc with a single piston caliper. And, you know, they're okay. They get the job done, but they definitely, I feel like they could be better. You can definitely feel the brakes engaging and the bike is coming to a stop, but it doesn't feel as strong as it does on, say, that Interceptor 650. But despite them feeling inadequate, they're more than enough for everyday riding conditions like this, coming to a stop. Again, you want to be using the front and the back brake at the same time, you know, in order to come to a stop as efficiently as possible. And one thing to note, actually, this is a little bit interesting, the actual brake lever for the front brake is shaped differently compared to the clutch lever. It's an interesting design, you know, this brake lever almost feels like some sort of hook. And, which, by the way, there you go, lane filtering, absolute no issue. Not too sure about city limits, where everything is more tightly bunched up, but definitely in these sort of urban riding environments, absolutely great for filtering. And speaking of design, you know, let's talk about the overall aesthetics of this bike. It looks incredibly good. I think the standout feature of this bike is those swooping lines from the dual exhaust out the right hand side of the bike. Really accentuates the overall dimensions and lines of this bike and really gives it that go fast looking image, especially when it's standing still. You know, that's something for me when it comes to motorbikes. Does it look like it's going fast sitting still? And this one certainly does. You got yourself a single dial up front with your speedometer. I honestly, I've been trying to locate some sort of button to cycle through the little digital display that's included as well, but I can't seem to locate it. But one thing to keep note of is you are provided with a gear indicator with that digital display, which is awesome. Most of these sort of you know, cruiser type bikes in general, I feel like, especially ones that just go with the standard analog gauge, they don't have a gear indicator. Even that Interceptor 650 we had a look at recently, that didn't have a gear indicator either. So yeah, it's a welcome feature on this particular bike, something that will definitely make your riding a little bit more convenient. But in saying that, there is a caveat, and that is there is no fuel gauge on this particular digital display, which again, I'm not sure if it's in there because I can't seem to locate any sort of button to cycle in between, you know, different pages of information. So there's also apparently a hidden USB port. Again, I cannot locate it if my life depended on it. So yeah, I'm really not sure if that information even exists on this bike, and I just haven't been able to locate it. So that's a, you know, bit of a con with the instrument cluster on this bike, but it makes up for it with the gear indicator, which is always a welcome feature on any motorbike, at least in my opinion. But yeah, fuel gauge, you just have to keep in mind the kilometers you traveled when the fuel light comes on, and you know, keep that number in mind when you go riding. A little bit of a hassle, but I think it's a bit of a trade-off considering just how much fun this bike is. You know, it just puts a smile on your face, and oh man, I absolutely love it. Visibility is great with these stock mirrors. Yeah, I feel like they detract a little bit from the aesthetics. I think that's general with most bikes. They, you know, the actual stock wing mirrors straight out of the factory, pretty ugly. But great visibility. I can see all around me. Absolutely awesome. Oh, and we've come down that no-through road we came down last time. But again, great opportunity to demonstrate the turn and circle. So let's have a look. How does the Indian Scout fare in its turn and circle? Not too bad. Yeah, not too bad. A little bit of a wider turning radius, but overall not too bad. Again, this is no sport bike. This is definitely no sport bike. You know, it is very much a laid back cruiser bike that you're just chewing up the kilometers, chewing up the miles, and just having a great time. So yeah, I absolutely love the design of this bike. Absolutely beautiful, at least in my opinion. Don't know what you guys would think. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the design of this bike. And you know, it comes in a number of different colors. It's a little bit confusing because on the Australian website they had, I think, only about 3 or 4 colors, and then obviously because Indian, it is an American brand, on the American website they had a number of other colors as well. I think around 6 or 7 in total. And you know, a couple of solid colors, a couple of two-tones in there in the mix as well. And yeah, you know, all of them, I honestly don't think you can go wrong with any of those colors. But absolutely love the black on this. This bike totally blacked out with some, you know, downward facing bar end mirrors, black wheels, black exhaust, everything totally blacked out would look absolutely killer and absolutely awesome. And this bike is a great platform for if you're looking to really make your own style of cruiser. This is a great platform. There are other Scout models, like I mentioned, you know, Scout Bobo, Scout Rogue, all those different ones. But if you just want a blank slate, the regular Scout is absolutely going to do the job for you and provide an absolute great platform to make your own style. Wow, I absolutely love this bike. Again, if I had the money, I would purchase this. This is an absolute gorgeous bike to look at. Really great bike to ride overall. This is just, I can't say it enough. This is a great bike, you know. And that power, oh man, oh, it's just so intoxicating. This is the life, really. You're just kicking back, relaxing, your legs just up forward, listening to some tunes, vibing away. Good times. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please do hit that like button, and if you're not subscribed, please do consider subscribing. Leave your comments down below. I want to hear your thoughts on this video, on this bike, everything and anything you have your thoughts on in regards to this sort of content. Leave your comments down below. Very much appreciated. Thank you to all of you who have watched my videos and especially subscribed, you know, recently, and you know, left likes and comments. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And if you're watching this, you haven't subscribed, do consider subscribing. I very much appreciate it. That's pretty much it. Ride safe, take care of yourselves, and I will catch you guys in the next video.
Bro. Be real, man. Come on.